Good morning. Welcome into the garage. I am going to do a bit of a video for you just to summarise a lot of my pre-season preparation on the car as we transition from Academy to Roadsport. Now, I've been recording loads and loads and loads of stuff in isolation of what I've been doing, and I just realised that there was a lot of it, and a lot of it you'd seen it before during the build, setting the car up, doing servicing, things like that. It was nothing new. So I'm going to talk you through it now while I'm stood here and maybe overlay some bits of that footage. But I'll start way back to pre-Barbados. The car had the initial round of Roadsport upgrades done at CTS Motorsport. I did a track day or two in the car, and that was all good. And then when it went out to Barbados, the car was looked after by Williams Automotive, a Caterham dealership down in Bristol. And they did a bunch of sort of pre-flight checks on it, and they found some parts of the car were broken. So the radial ion tube had a crack in it, which sounds bad, it sounds scary, but unfortunately it's just one of those things they kind of do. They don't fall apart, they don't, completely collapse on themselves, but cracks start forming, so you need to get those replaced. And also there's a crack in the pedal box somewhere, which still not quite sure how or why that would have happened. So we went out, did Barbados, and everything was all good. CTS, prior to the Barbados, they also did a load of sort of proactive servicing work, so new wheel bearings all around, new brake discs all around, even though the brake discs, they'll last seasons and seasons of racing on these things, and they're so cheap, it just kind of makes sense just to lob some on, and various other things. Obviously all the fluids were done, and yeah, we went out, raced in Barbados, and then came home, and then I had a couple more minor upgrades to do, which we there was no stock to deal with pre Barbados, so there was a high effort brake pedal, so that's a brake pedal that has a different fulcrum point compared to the Academy one, and it means that in theory you put more effort in at the pedal end, but the payback for that is there's less movement in the pedal to achieve that effort, and also in theory there's more feedback coming back the other way. If you think about a lever, if you bias the lever in one direction, you increase the effort at one side, but you increase the feedback at the other. I'll be honest, the jury's still out on that. I had to mess around with it a little bit to get my original pedal feel back, and I'm still not entirely convinced it's an upgrade. Now, I've driven another car, a 310 car, with the high effort brake pedal in it, and it feels amazing. So there's something I've missed somewhere. I don't know if I just need to persist with a few more bleeds of the system. Maybe I've still got a little bit of air in it. I don't know, but jury's still out on that one. You'll probably hear more about that brake pedal in the future. I also had a couple of repairs to do after the onslaught in Barbados. So I did a CV boot on this corner here. So did a CV boot change. That was messy, but went well enough. And then just a couple of other minor bits and pieces. Then the latest round of work I did was setup work. So we got the new tyres. We got the new Nova ZZS tyres. So these have got a lower profile than the Toyos that they're replacing, which means the car sits lower. But also they have some slightly different demands or expectations from baseline setup. So Nova provided us with a handy data sheet with some starting points on, which I implemented and just tested on it at Snetterton a couple of days ago at time of recording this. So still a few more tweaks to make based on my Snetterton observations, but all good there. So that sort of brings me on to today. I'm going to take the engine out of the car, which is a very, very dramatic thing to say. The engine's fine. In fact, I was really happy with the engine's performance at Snetterton. You may recall, if you've been watching the channel, a couple of people commented on it actually. I really struggled at the Snetterton race weekend. I got a podium, right? So that just reframe struggle. When I say I struggled, the slam dunk overtakes that everybody talks about in the toe on the back straight, I was a sick duck. I didn't make a single overtake on that back straight. I got overtaken plenty of times, and I had to make my moves elsewhere in slightly more questionable circumstances. That didn't seem to be the case at the test day yesterday. I made a few overtakes on that main straight and into turn one, which was great. It was good to have some confidence in that. So yeah, the engine's fine. The gearbox, however, I have not been happy with since the day I first drove this car, way back in Donington in the wet, January last year. I had an issue where changing gear from third to fourth, which should be the easiest gear change, you're not going across the gate or anything, you're just coming down, straight down, it should just bang, straight in. It was really difficult to shift it in. On that day, I made changes with the pedal positions to try and get more actuation out of the clutch, which did improve it, but ever since, it's still been a very physical experience to go from third to fourth. During the stints in Barbados, it was starting to get a bit crunchy, which I think is fairly understandable. You know, we were racing this thing for an hour and 45 minutes or whatever it was. I can't even remember. It's a lot of time for a gearbox to be slamming through the gears. So I'm going to take it out. CTS are going to help me out with a rebuilt box. So to swap it out on an exchange basis, put another new clutch in it. You might remember back from a Snetterton test day last year, I had a clutch failure, and the guys at Alpha 7 stepped up and did an overnight clutch change for me, which was mega, and got me back out on track for a Silverstone day a few days later. But I want to get that clutch out, inspect it, see if there's any signs of fatigue on that one, and probably put a new clutch in it just while everything's out. So today I'm going to make a start on this. I'm going to rig up the time lapse so you can see it from above. Mark at CTS has given me some pointers, recommended to leave the gearbox in situ and just lift the engine out in isolation and then go back for the gearbox right at the end. If you recall from the Academy build, the build manual has you install everything as a unit. So we'll try it the other way. We'll try disconnecting the bell housing from the engine, disconnect a few other ancillaries to make clearance, then in theory the engine should just lift straight up instead of doing the kind of pivot thing. So yeah, I'm going to time lapse that now. You will get to see that. Hopefully it comes out okay, and then later this week I will drop it all back in again, hopefully with a nice new easy to gear change gearbox setup. Enjoy. I don't know how long I've been at it, to be honest, maybe 20 minutes. Steady away really, just reacquainting myself with some of the plumbing. So that's been the focus for now, is get the plumbing off for the coolant system. So I drained the coolant. I've not made quite so much mess as I thought I would. I'll mop that up in a minute. And just reminding myself how it all routes down here. So we've got you might have seen me laying under the car, so under there we've got the oil cooler. It's just a water to oil exchanger. So the good news is that means I don't need to drain the oil to take the engine out, because everything's kind of self-contained. It's just the water that comes in from the coolant system. And I've just been like unclipping all of the sort of wire clips and stuff that are holding bits to the chassis. Caterham do a really good job with the kit cars nowadays in really minimising how much engine wiring you need to do. So a lot of it is attached to the engine and will stay attached to the engine, but obviously as part of the build I was clipping a lot of it to the chassis and stuff to stop it flapping around. So I need to make sure all that's unclipped so I'm not ripping connectors out or whatever. Fuel line is disconnected. Followers of the channel will know that's like the third fuel line I've had in this car, so I've been super careful with that. I'll disconnect the clutch later because the gearbox is staying in for now. Just pulled this hose out here. This is just one of the hangovers from the build that I was never happy with. I cut a piece of tube too short, so to get it ready for IVA I extended it and told myself I would fix it in a few days time and never did, so I just need to get a new piece of hose and do away with that joint, that extra failure point. So next I will be disconnecting the wiring, and I think I'm going to take the auxiliary belt off so I can take the tensioner pulley off. You see, that's just the only bit that's kind of sticks out a little bit, and it'll just make navigating this crossbar a little bit more difficult. For the sake of like 2 bolts to remove it, I think I'm going to remove that. Then it'll be exhaust manifold off, throttle cable off, intake tube off, disconnect bell housing bolts, engine mounts, lift it out. I'm sure I forgot something. Quick update. Still no idea how long I've been in here. What is it? Maybe an hour and a half, something like that. Maybe not even that long. I think I've got everything disconnected now other than the gearbox itself and the engine mounts. So I've done the plumbing, I've done the wiring, I've done the exhaust, taken that pulley off, taken the throttle cable off. Yeah, I think I'm there. So I'm going to have a cup of tea, bell housing bolts off next, have a bit of a mop up under here in case I need to roll around under there, and then I need to find, there's a hookups for the engine crane are there, and there's one that bolts onto the block there, so I need to dig that out because I took mine off after the build. So yeah, that's going pretty well. I think I'm going to stop the time lapse now, have a cup of tea, and I'll be back with you soon. Okay, update. I've got the engine crane out a little earlier than expected. Not much earlier. I'm almost there, to be honest. But I'm having trouble with the starter motor bolts. They're buried in there somewhere, and they're a bit of a pain to get to. And I feel like if I take this engine mount off, I'll get more access. So the engine mount needs to come off anyway. So I've supported the engine on the crane, so I can now take the engine mount off, and then I can at least get that starter off. And that's the plan. I appreciate you can't really see what's going on from the time lapse. update. I don't know how much my frustration comes across on the time lapse, but this bolt, right. I need a breather so you can have story time. Way back to when this was a kit car, or was a kit, I had the engine and the gearbox down there. I had some friends over, we made another time lapse, and we had a really fun day putting the engine in the box in for the first time. That day got off to a rough start. We set the starter motor. There's 3 bolts holding the starter motor to the engine and gearbox, so that's why it needs to come out so I can separate the two. The third bolt, the one closest to the engine, is incredibly hard to fit, incredibly hard to access. Quite a unique combination of tools required, access is really limited, it just sucks. I later found out after we went through all this, honestly it took, I think our day was 6 or 8 hours. We spent the first 2 messing around with this bolt, it was insane. I later found out through the builders WhatsApp group that nobody fits that bolt, it just gets left out, so hey ho, job done. Fast forward to SNET last year, my clutch goes, the guys at Alpha 7 step in to do like an overnight clutch change, really appreciated their help. And I never for a million years thought they would keep that bolt in. Turns out they did a proper job and the bolt is still in the car. So I have had to do all sorts. As you can see, I've kind of jacked the engine out. The gearbox is now on an angle because it's still attached, just to give a bit more access. I've taken the thermostat housing out, which really did help actually. This is probably the most helpful thing for the sake of 4 bolts. That was probably the thing that got me the closest. And then the final thing I just had to do was grind down one of my Allen bits. And now what I've finally got is a combination of extensions. A wobbly extension that is taped to the right angle. But if you are taping a wobbly joint, you're desperate, right? But now, fuck. Right, it's coming out by hand, ish. So I'm gonna put the phone down because this is no time for jokes. I'm gonna get this bolt out, and then the engine and box should be separated. Engine, gearbox. Woo. So yeah, got that bolt out, and then it was pretty straightforward after that really. Just pry bar to gently separate the engine from the gearbox, and then it just lifted straight out. So yeah, without that bolt, great advice from CTS, I think, lifting the engine in and out, just up and down, is much nicer than trying to, angle the whole thing out like an S shape. So yeah, I've got a few more jobs to do. I need to get the interior apart now so I can just get the gear shifter out of the way. That gearbox is sat on an axle stand, so it's just a case of shifter out and then manhandle that out, so it pulls off the prop shaft. Then I think that's out. Then I can go get it over, go to get it exchanged for a rebuilt one. I'm going to take the clutch off. I'm going to have a look, see what's going on after my clutch failure last year. I'd like to have a look at what this clutch looks like. Might throw a new one on. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see what the crack is. New exhaust manifold gasket. That one's looking a bit crusty. Yeah, that's about it really. Yeah, I quite enjoyed this morning. What time is it? It's 1:20, and I leisurely start at 9, and I've had a break in the middle, so 3 hours probably. It would have been 2 hours without that starter motor, probably an hour and a half once you know what tools you need and stuff, an hour even. Yeah, pretty fun morning.